You guys all know when you watch an anime or read a manga, the writers always have to make the mothers or the parents of the main characters very strong. This concept is done to this character in this video, Akasha. Yeah, it's not an anime if your mom isn't strong. She's the mother of the main character. See, in her blood, she has this thing known as the power of the Sensho in her blood, which makes her extremely rare in this universe. Don't be surprised when you see me bring up other vampires or monsters in this universe to kind of give you an idea of her strength, because it's all relevant because this Sensho power, it's very important to be top tier. Shinso. There's 3 great dark lords and she's considered the leader, Akasha Bloodriver. Implied to be the strongest one of them too as well. They even dub her as Akasha the Nosferatu. See, when we look back in time, she's really freaking old. She's over hundreds of years old. Yeah, I'm talking about back in the 15th century. This is how they talk about the lore. In this European region, there was once a small nameless country. The king who ruled over it revealed to his subjects that he was a vampire, and that he dreamt of creating a utopia where humans and monsters could coexist. Of course, the humans were afraid and denounced him. Vampires are the enemies of God, servants of the devil. Kill every last one of them. Of course, Dracula soloed them. Alucard soloed them. This is where we see the king traveling east with a girl, the only other survivor, his heart thirsting for revenge on humanity and longing to rebuild his lost kingdom. The name of the king was Dracula, who later came to spell his name backwards, calling himself Alucard. This little girl was Akasha that was with him all this time. She was also a vampire too. Anyway, Akasha did eventually get married to somebody else that's really strong. Let's get into how strong she is, shall we? The way super strength works for vampires in this world is this ability to turn one's aura, demonic aura, into strength. That's why they can lift heavy stuff, enhance themselves with this aura, energy manipulation on their body. It's different than strength from your muscle, but it can do the same thing. That's why they're strong. Due to her strength being unrivaled compared to most people in this universe, you can kind of look at what everybody else can do to understand her, even if she doesn't necessarily show doing it or lack screen time when it comes to lifting heavy stuff. There's characters out here that carry around these huge bats and swing them around, can casually carry around things that weigh over 200 pounds. 220 pounds! There's characters that are weaker than Akasha can do this. You even see other characters struggling to lift the weight of this, so you know it's true. This puts in perspective of the strength we're talking about in this universe. All of this stuff should just make Akasha look more impressive. I have no doubt that she can lift up cars above her head, considering the tier she's in. I mean, look at what other elite vampires can do. Of course, Akasha can do this kind of similar stuff too, even though this isn't particularly her in this scan. This stuff is with laughable ease, nowhere near that limit. That means they can lift several tons with ease, and they can throw it one arm at crazy speed. Because this is at least 5 tons, and they're doing this with one arm. Imagine with 2 arms, that's probably 10 tons. You know, I would say she shouldn't have no problem lifting up a tractor-trailer truck above her head. It's fair to say she can lift 100,000 tons, being able to lift buildings and such, because I don't think it's a reach to say, due to her being the one that defeated and sealed Dracula, fought, aka fight him, match his strength, I would say it should be fair to assume she can lift similar stuff to what he can lift because of her unrivaled strength, right? Beings like Alucard or Dracula's true form can get bigger than buildings. I would say her strength has to be somewhat like this, at least in the hundreds of thousands of ton range. Since it's implied she's the mightiest of the Dark Lords, look at the heavy stuff the Dark Lords have supported the weight of to get an understanding of her strength. Look how big this being is, right? Alucard in his monster state. Literally bigger than buildings, easily over hundreds of thousands of tons. Look how small normal people look compared to his fingers and such. Yeah, that's the kind of size I'm talking about. That's the kind of weight that's behind his swipes. Look at the size of these people, man. Like, you see what I'm talking about? The strength of these Dark Lord level beings, Akasha should be able to do this too. This is the kind of weight they can support, y'all. Full weight pushing down on these beings. Her or any Dark Lord level character can probably lift over 1 million tons if we're being honest at this point. Imagine this kind of strength behind her fists. What do you think her fists or punches would feel like? Or what would the weight of her kicks feel like? Wouldn't you agree that it should feel like over hundreds of thousands of tons or a building falling on your face as well? Because she can enhance her strikes with energy, right? Wouldn't you agree they would be heavier, right? You see what I'm saying? Beings she can punch way harder than can do stuff like punching through human skulls like with ease. So of course she can do this. I'm gonna bring up Dracula or Alucard again in the video, but just look at the stuff that her daughter can do. You can get an idea of Akasha's power. If her daughter can kick with so much weight that folks literally go flying, why wouldn't she be able to kick this hard if her daughter can? You know, other characters she can punch harder than have shown to be able to hit so hard that the collateral of their hits create localized earthquakes to where other characters feel it, even though they're decently far away. It was an illusionary city, but the fact that he was still able to make a shockwave that hit so hard other people can feel it is still a feat. implying she can do much more than just building level with her punches. If narratively weaker characters can, characters that are weaker than her in the narrative of the story. Remember how I told you that there's 3 Dark Lords? Since it's implied she can hit harder than any Dark Lord, let's look at other Dark Lord level beings, analyze the weight of their hits. This should further give you more perspective on Akasha's punching power, because their punches themselves or their strikes can damage skyscraper-sized beings despite them lacking the size. Size means nothing. They can hit massively harder than what their size would suggest. Not to mention the being they're punching is more durable than skyscrapers, and they're damaging something this large. So just keep that in consideration. So while his size is impressive, damaging beings this large is actually more impressive than blowing holes in buildings themselves. All of this stuff is implied without no weapon. Imagine if she used her sword or blade or something. You know, let's just say even weaker characters are some low-key nuclear bomb type characters. Because there was this Phoenix being, a new Phoenix, adult huge Phoenix being that's a huge, can be stopped like this, like characters that are weaker than Akasha. And Mocha, Akasha's daughter, is able to do this one hitting the super strong being, treating this Phoenix being like a joke. These are the same type of beings that can blow away mountains, destroy mountains with a flap of their wings without even a direct hit, just flapping their wings. They can produce this kind of energy. What do you think their direct hits feel like? This just makes Akasha look more impressive because she has unrivaled strength. Let's look at her daughter some more when they became full Shinsho. Let's look at her daughter some more on what she can do to kind of understand her more. Her becoming full Shinso. We get to see how these two do against Alucard, despite his durability and massive size. We get to see the weight of their hits and how they affect such a being, a top tier like Alucard. Hitting and blowing holes in such a being, causing significant damage to a being like this, even though he can regenerate. I want you guys to keep note that this is the same Alucard that's durable enough to withstand huge fortresses like this falling from 2.5 miles above Japan. Like huge stuff like this falling. This fortress is way bigger than just a normal old size building, by the way. Like imagine a structure like this big falling with Alucard inside of this structure. Fell down, withstood all of this impact. Like imagine being right at the epicenter of something ramming to the ground this hard and you're right next to it, something this massive and heavy. A fortress with layers on the inside of it. Just to give you another angle of what I'm talking about, it's like a full place to explore. Some areas looking like bottomless pits. There was pieces of Alucard throughout this fortress. I'm purposely showing you a lot of different angles to immerse you in how big this fortress is, way bigger than buildings. I did my own personal calculations on what this could possibly weigh. With AI, I personally calculated that this is over billions of tons, but I'm lowballing on purpose so I don't overhype or wank nothing. Bare minimally, if we assume the smallest billions, 1 billion tons, this doesn't take rocket science. Just imagine 1 billion tons falling with incredible speed while you're in the epicenter of all this. Gravity ramming down with incredible speed. Imagine how much force that would feel like. It would feel like over billions of tons ramming on your face. This is the kind of stuff Alucard level beings have to withstand. This would be scarier than nuclear bombs going off on your face. The kind of weight this would feel like the equivalent of would be bare minimally hundreds of the strongest nuclear bombs that ever exist combined, basically 100 Tsar bombs. The top tiers, even some of the strongest characters, Akasha and etc., or just Shinso level beings, Dark Lord level beings, have to bare minimally hit this hard to even be able to somewhat do real, actual, sufficient damage on a being this strong, based on how her daughter can do Alucard with the weight of her hits. Their hits seem to be affecting him more than a whole mountainous sized structure falling from 2 miles in the sky and crap. All this stuff I've been talking about goes for Akasha's durability. She has really good pain tolerance to where she doesn't really flinch from pain that much. If she's resistant as other characters, I don't see why lightning would work on her either. Even though this isn't Akasha in these scans, I don't see why she wouldn't be able to take it either, due to where she belongs in the hierarchy. Okay, you're probably tired of me bringing up other characters to show how strong Akasha is. Well, here's an occasion of Akasha actually using straight blunt chops with her actual hands, cutting up Alucard's tentacles. Yeah, to show we actually do see her hit hard, by the way. So all this stuff, yeah, I wasn't just bluffing. Even though I've been bringing up a lot of characters in this video, she has visuals herself. All this proves she does have city wiping type of kicks. When you visually see her with the weight of her kicks, based on how big these appendages are, you see how they explode. These appendages, you can tell there's serious weight behind it. Yes, her kicks are so much scarier than nukes. If you have your doubts about this nuclear type power, just remember the threat Alucard or Dracula. Just remember threats like him were able to engulf an entire continent in a sea of fire in just 7 days. Just think about that for a second. It doesn't sound like much, but just 7 days to make a whole continent a sea of fire, that takes a lot of power per second, you gotta say. Sure, this can also be related to speed, so it kind of adds up with all the nuclear stuff I've been talking about, but I mean, think about it. She's the one, along with others, is the reason this super incineration to Alucard occurred. Like, yeah, of course, with some help, though. I mean, just look what her daughter and them did against Alucard, not even counting this explosion crap. This can give you an idea of Akasha. Looks like an atomic bomb is going off in the streets. Yo, on the topic of speed, terms like supersonic is brought up, so I would like to think she's that fast at bare minimally. It's clear she can move like a blur. In this occasion, she looks like she's in 2 spots at the same time. The way they drew it, the way Shinso level beings are like drawn, it looks like their limbs are moving like a blur. The top tiers are probably faster than the speed of lightning because there's characters that are the incarnation of lightning itself. They move so fast, it appears he teleports because he turns into actual lightning to move. If you have your doubts because you say, oh, fictional lightning is different than real lightning, we can't just assume it's the speed of actual lightning. Well, in this case, they acknowledge lightning is fast. So in this universe, they acknowledge that lightning is 335,000 miles per hour. And guess who can project lightning? I didn't tell you this yet. Vampires in this universe can attack with actual lightning. So Akasha should be able to do this too. You see? So theoretically, she should technically be able to attack with the speed of lightning type speed if she can blast out lightning, if she can. Do you think she's as quick as lightning? She's pretty versatile. Let's just say if you have a little piece of Akasha's genetics, you can't just be turned into stone by Medusa. You can't be turned instantly like other people. Other people get turned really quickly. A part of you only gets turned, showing some resistance to Hexy type stuff. Akasha, along with other characters in this universe, have what you would call super senses, meaning they don't necessarily have to see you with their own eyes. They can feel you, kind of like their own version of spider sense from Marvel Comics, kind of feel that something's bad about to happen before it even happens. That's a common thing for supernatural entities in this universe. Being a vampire has its perks because they have like this echolocation type of hearing, kind of like bats, said to be a special skill of vampires. Like it can get really precise to where you know the exact number of what you got to deal with. Pretty hard to surprise characters with super senses like this. Dubbed as a yokai detector. Some of these scans are occasions of characters other than Akashi doing this, but all this still should apply for her as well because she's a higher end of this universe. So yeah, just giving you occasions of, you can say this is part of the reason why vampire tiers can fight fast. They kind of already know what you're about to do before you do it based on your intent. Relying on intuition rather than sight. If you rely upon feeling their yoki and killing intent rather than sight, you'll be able to react faster. It's generally portrayed as a rule that monsters, not necessarily just vampires, just monsters in general, are able to mask how they actually look. They can look kind of like a convincing human in this universe, so they can coexist peacefully with humans. Just don't scare everybody by looking scary all the time. I mean, they pretty much break it down for dummies when it comes to vampire physiology of this universe. It's kind of what you expect it to be, just like a small encyclopedia. They're considered not easy to kill and are considered the greatest of all the monsters, despite them having weaknesses. Also dubbed as the immortal ones. There's implications she can produce electricity or lightning. There's implications she can do some type of bat transformation type stuff, like classic vampire type stuff you see in media. There's a lot of bat imagery. Like I've already mentioned how these characters are kind of energy projector type characters. Akasha is one of them. That's why you see characters with aura type of abilities be able to produce bat-like imagery. It's a constant reminder that sensual blood is a big thing in this universe. Bat-like imagery. But yeah, not just aura and bat imagery, but actual vampire type transformations and such. You know, classic vampire stuff. Akasha should be able to do this kind of stuff too. In the verse is considered a lost art, apparently. A forgotten ability. Clear evidence that vampires in this universe have healing factors because they can get fatal wounds and kind of bounce back. Matter of fact, right here, this is a clear example of Akasha getting sliced and you see blood come out. Despite all this, it's proven she has good healing. It's acknowledged that her injury is healing itself. On top of us visually see it heal up on panel. But yeah, all of that doesn't matter because she can just straight up get cut in half. Yeah, visually look at that. But guess what? She did some Deadpool stuff and just reattached her limbs together like nothing happened because her body is too sturdy. Cutting her in half isn't enough to kill her. Impales like this imply the healing is on a cellular level. There's perks to being a Sensho. If somebody just wanted to decide to be evil and just like kind of murk people, eat them, absorb them to get more power or gain more biomass or strength, I guess you could argue Akasha could do that too. Because Alucard, another Sensho, can kind of do this kind of stuff. You could say power absorption. You could almost say this creation ability is like a form of their version of transmutation. By being able to flow their supernatural power into their blood and control it, they can change the mass and texture of their blood, its very nature, to create anything they desire, manifest armor, form a cape to protect themselves, increase their durability. Based on her being a Sensho, I don't see no reason why she wouldn't be able to do this. You can even argue based on this, if she just wanted to be dark and spiteful, she can gain more power and kind of give herself temporary or even possibly permanent power-ups, maybe. There's this art or technique that feels pretty magical that allows for sealing powers away and such. Akasha can use. It's like an art of manipulating your inner energy. Some characters use it for sealing, some for making barriers, dimensional shift, or you can just also strike harder because of this. It can help you strike harder. Her true limits of these magical type techniques are kind of speculatory because she doesn't have the most screen time. Narratively, it's clear that she's high end though, because we do actually see her do magical sealing. Because of this rosary that's pretty famous, it can put higher end characters to sleep. Yeah, it's because of her this sealing rosary existed. It was created by Akasha. More explanation on what I just said about her sleeping technique by sealing away the Sensho blood in this particular story beat. And that's what the rosary is for. This rosary seal, it's a seal embedded to your soul. Rosary was originally created by a mother as a means of protecting her daughter on her travels so they could still be connected. Even if their bodies were separated, this connection would still remain even after the mother's unfortunate end. She may or may not be a fan of sledgehammers. You'll see her wear some cool looking armor at times. And it's quite obvious she's not afraid to use a blade or blades. Yeah, Alucard is like the end of the series boss of this universe. Thanks to this rosary, you're probably tired of me bringing up, thanks to this being placed on Alucard. When the rosary got placed on him, she kind of hijacked his power to where technically she can do anything he can do. Even though this happened briefly, you could theorize she can do anything he can do in this form. I mean, look at the size. She's the one that created the rosary. She recreated her body with his. That's where Akasha Bloodriver basically got this overpowered form. You could dub it the Black Parade form. To really get an understanding of how she is like this, you really have no choice but to look at how scary this Sensho is. Why would these tanks even try against beings like this or jets? It don't matter. She should be able to do all this too. This is the kind of size she should be capable of. Just from sheer size alone, you have to be able to lift hundreds of thousands of tons just to be able to support your own weight when you're literally bigger than buildings themselves. I mean, her size is kind of evident. So even though we didn't really see Akasha fight in this mode, all the stuff we've seen Alucard do, like busting up buildings with the size of his tendrils, just things like this, obviously she should be able to do. She can more than likely produce this kind of power in her base state anyway, like I showed earlier in this video. It's just the same stuff, but just amplified in this state, you could say. The visuals speak for themselves. She should be capable of all this stuff like Alucard. All these buildings, she can easily do all this stuff too, like she could do before. It just adds more fuel to what I've said earlier. Like, yeah, building destruction is easy. Durability mixed with absurd regeneration should allow her to withstand a bombardment from jets, missiles, similar to how Alucard could do this in these scans. She should be able to do this in this form, even though we didn't see no screen time of her in this form. It still should apply. The deadliest weapons just aren't enough. This is the guy she hijacked the body of. Just giving you visuals of all this. In this state, she should, just like him, be able to produce fire, you could say. There's no doubt in this state she's capable of mountain-shattering type of power, being scarier than certain nukes. If I've already implied earlier that her base stealth is kind of nuclear-ish, if that makes sense. So it makes sense for this overpowered version of herself to be this powerful too. It only adds up. Just like how earlier I mentioned that Alucard could withstand impacts of giant billion-ton structures like this falling, and he's right next to it or in the epicenter of this kind of stuff. This should apply for her when she's hijacked his body. You know, you already know this stuff. But yeah, she don't need this. Besides, she is the one that released the suicide bomb type of technique. It's a one-time super special occasion type of technique that took out Alucard anyway. She's just powerful regardless of how you look at it. Along with the help of other higher ends, Dark Lords of this universe. Yeah, Alucard was kind of busted. It took all these beings to keep him gone for good, turning them all into dust. Go ahead and like, share, subscribe, hype up the video if you can. Respect Akasha. I'm glad you are enjoying your time on the channel. Make sure you check out the playlist on the channel to see other How Strong videos. If you like what this channel is offering, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys later.